can be very delicate because it affects her pocketbook.
Yeah, like a negative review. When it affects my pocketbook, a negative review will cost me, especially about like if she writes like, oh, they're lusting over my man.
Oh my God!
That would cost me thousands of
do you know how bad that would be? It would be horrible.
Yeah.
Like, so yeah, we definitely don't want someone to be like posting a rant online about something. I mean, it's something that other people would be like, that's my worst fear about a massage is, oh, my husband won't come with me. Because men won't come to couples massages all the time. They're like, I don't want some stranger touching my body, like they think it's really fucking weird, right?
Yeah.
And so it's really hard. It's hard enough for women to get their boyfriends and husbands in for massages. If they see a review like that, they're like, nope, not going, So in the grand scheme of things, the $100 of gummies I gave that lady in the free massage is cheap.
Pennies on the dollar. The other complaint we get, sometimes people will come out and they'll be like, there was hair in my throat.
Oh my God, and that's horrible. And honestly, just comp it. Like, they don't, I mean, even if it was their own hair, you know what I mean? Even if it was their own hair, we would not survive a Google review where someone's like, I brushed up against some creepy hair in that tank. We would not be able to, there would be no defense, Even if we were like, we skimmed it right before and the pumps ran and kicked some hair out. You know what I mean? Like, even if you clean it perfectly, when the pumps run, they can, like, kick some hair out or whatever. It's no one's fault. But you just have to give it for free. Because if anybody pays even a penny for getting somebody's creepy hair on them, like, when they're naked in the dark in that room, you're just not going to come back from that. That's my opinion.
Not only do I give it for free, I even give them a free next one.
Yeah, I give them some flow cash, yeah.
Because I'll say that, we're very strict on the cleaning. We clean.
Mm-hmm.
We get in and clean it for every single person. But sometimes, like, a hair can get caught in the pump.
Yeah, and we tell them. We explain that, of course.
That it can get kicked out of the pump when the pump runs. And, I want to encourage people to, like,
come back.
Yeah. And, like, they're having a really bad vibe right now because they saw that and they cannot continue it at the moment. So that's why
And then they'll tell all their friends.
Yeah.
It's a sexy story, too. So.
Yeah, it is. It's, like, salacious. It's like, don't go to Float Oasis. There's hair in the tanks and it's creepy. And then they'll tell all their friends about it. So, yeah, give them another free one and just tell them, like, how committed we are to the cleanliness. And, like, how OCD we are about cleaning the tanks. And that, like, we'd like them to come back, and here's a free float for next time. And then it's, like, we never hear a peep about that. Like, once you not only, like, give it to them for free, but also, like, give them a free float for next time, they're never going to tell their friends that, like, oh, Float Oasis are a bunch of jerks who charge me for a creepy, hairy tank. Yeah. They're going to be like, oh, well, that business made a mistake, and it's whatever. You know what I mean? Even if we didn't make a mistake, even if it was just a fluke, you know what I mean? Like, if it came out of the pumps. We're not going to have as bad of a time. No hair. No bugs in the tank. I once found a ladybug in a tank, and I saw it in there when I was walking the client in the room. I was like, oh, I saw that there's something that we need to refill, so would you come back to the lounge, and I'm just going to make sure the room's ready for you. Like, don't ever say there's a hair in the tank or a bug in the tank or let me clean this. Like, say nothing. Just turn them around immediately and be like, oh, sorry, I forgot one more thing that we need to refill before you get you in your float, and if you would follow me back to the lounge and sit them down so they can't see it, and then go back in there and skim that ladybug out of the tank.
That happens. Sometimes I'm doing
I've seen a hair or something, Take them out of the room and put them all the way in the lounge. Like, don't even let them hang out in the hallway as you go get a skimmer or something, because then they know there's something in the tank, right? You have to, like, hide it. Get them all the way out.
Yeah.
I mean, and we've had members float before, though. Like, I had a member float. She'd done, like, 30 floats or something. And she was like, oh, like, there was a hair, but, like, I just took it off me and, like, threw it out the tank or whatever. And she was fine, because she was like, it was probably mine. Like, she said it to me, She's like, oh, it was probably one of my hairs or something, but, like, just letting you know or whatever. I gave her half off anyway. Like, even though she wasn't even mad at all. And she like, was like, oh, I just took it off me and I finished my float and it was a great float and I'm fine. You know what I mean? Like, even if they say that, I'm like, oh my God, here's half of her, here's some float cash or something, and sorry about that kind of deal, So it's mostly first time floaters that
is,
like
yeah.
you just like really don't want to have a terrible experience like that.
At Float Milwaukee, they don't skim the pools after every float.
Yeah, they don't.
Yes. So that's kind of, I think other float centers do that as well, don't they?
Don't
like,
skim?
Yeah, don't skim after every single float. Like,
I want to say,
have the pods.
yeah, I want to say it's like 50-50.
I think it's 50-50.
Because a lot of people don't even know. They're like, what's a skimmer? Like, they don't even know what a skimmer. Oh, but every float, so here's the thing, float tank designs are like super diverse. And so every tank has like super different like filtration systems. And our tanks are huge. And because of their circular shape, it's really easy for stuff to like, you know, kind of go to the edges. So depending on like the shape of a tank, like, because some of them are the pods, which are rounded, and then some of them are like those boxy, like the squares, and the squares can get things in the corners too, you know what I mean? And they can have a scum line. Like, I floated at other centers. I try to float every time I go out of town and see different centers, and I floated at centers where, like, I could see, like, the scum line. Like, I could visually see it. Like, they don't buff it ever. Most centers only deep clean once a week. So they only get in the tanks or wipe them off once a week.
And that's what the manufacturer said too.
That's what the manufacturer said.
Floataway said.
And they
too,
also use washable filters, and they only wash them once a week.
They don't use the carbon ones that I have. Those are actually like a waste of money. A lot of float centers think it's a waste of money to use those. So like I can't recall any other float center using the carbon ones because they're expensive.
Some of the float converts asked me about them because they were unhappy with their water quality, and I told them what you get. But yeah, most people don't want to spend that much money on it. I mean, a washable filter, you just wash it every time. But like it's like I floated at Float Milwaukee once, and it literally looked like a rainbowy oil slick at the top. Like I could see like the oil in A&D like from people's bodies. Isn't it gross? Yeah. Even if it's like clean and you wouldn't get sick from it, like it's gross.
So I'm just telling you what other float centers are doing. So their water doesn't all look like this. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
So we
And
think
because
it's cleaner than much other centers.
And because they don't use the carbon filters, like they spend a bunch of money on like the scum bugs, and they put tennis balls in, and they put those rays that we have. Remember, you know, like they'll put all kinds of shit in it to try to collect all the scum off the surface because they don't use the carbon filters; they use washable ones. It's gross. And I went to a tour of a float center in Denver, and it smelled so strongly of chlorine, which means that there's been a lot of pee and bodily fluids in the tank. Because chlorine doesn't actually like have the chlorine smell. The stuff that you put in pools and spas and stuff, it smells when someone's peed in it or when there's like skin and organic matter that's getting eaten up. And it smelled like a gym pool. Just gross.
Yeah.
And all these float center owners were touring it, and we all walk in and we're like, it was horrible. And the water was like kind of green. I was like, oh my god, like I really hope no one ever floats here. It was really terrible. It's very traumatic for me. They had one of the float away pods though.
The tranquility ones?
Yeah, the tranquility ones.
Another one is, and this Hannah has mentioned this multiple times when she's been here, is my butt touch the bottom of the pool during my float.
So
I'm gonna go to the bathroom. You can continue talking.
So the thing is, we keep our specific gravity higher than most float centers do. We want ours above 1.25. A lot of float centers keep theirs at 1.23, which is actually significantly lower. But a lot of people don't have Wisconsin-sized bodies. A lot of float centers, you know, they don't have Wisconsin-sized people floating in their tanks. And the thing is that the specific gravity is important, but this is why it is extremely important for us to look at the water line every day and for us to see if the tanks need more water. Because if there's not enough water in the tank, you are much more likely to touch the bottom. So I floated in a float center in Northwest Indiana once, where I touched the bottom, but that's because their water was only 8 inches deep because they were low on salt. And so they figured, we'll just let the water evaporate and we won't add water, and then it'll still have the same specific gravity, you know what I mean? But I was like, I got out after 5 minutes, and I was like, hey, you either don't have enough salt or something in this tank, but, like, I touched the bottom, and I was like, can I just float in the tank right next door? I saw that it's open right now, so they switched me to the next tank, because they had, like, 5 tanks. And I floated in the other one, and it was perfectly fine. And I came out, and I was like, what was your specific gravity? And they were like, oh, the specific gravity's okay, but we're actually waiting on a salt shipment, so we just haven't added water, so our water's at 8 inches. So I was like,
there was... Just only check it, like, once a month or
yeah,
something.
It was Gloria's. It was Gloria's.
Oh, Gloria's?
It was Gloria's place in Northwest Indiana.
Wow.
They're, yeah. So, because they didn't have the salt shipment. So they...
You should close down the tank.
That's what I said.
Yeah, that's so unprofessional.
I know.
She's expensive too.
She's really expensive. Well, I had bought like a Christmas package or whatever, of like 5 floats for $200 or something like that. Because I drive through Northwest Indiana on my way to visit my parents from time to time, so I floated there like 3 times. But anyway, yes. So making sure there's enough water is important and enough salt. And if they said they touched the bottom, but they stayed in for the whole hour, again, I would give them like a discount, but maybe not for free, or give them some float cash for next time too, and say, oh, just let us know, you know, like we maybe needed to add water to that tank, because room 3 kind of likes to float in 3, and room 3 is the one that we always forget to add water to. So that's the reason. It's not that there's not enough salt, it's that there's not enough water. So, something to be aware of. It is very important that we add water.
It can break the pumps too if they're running dry. So.
Oh, for sure, yeah.
All right. The next one is I felt nauseous during the float.
Yeah. Okay. So for that one, usually if people felt really nauseous, they do get out early, and again, just give it to them for free if they got out after less than half an hour. But we want to ask them several questions. Like, one is, like, did you drink any water or eat anything beforehand? If you float on a totally empty stomach, like it said in the orientation video, right? You might feel a little nauseous during the float, so that's something to be aware of. And then the other thing is you can ask them if they get seasickness or motion sickness ever, right? And if they do, a little pro tip for next time, and give them, like, a generous amount of float cash, and give them a pro tip for next time, and say, if you get like motion sickness or nausea, like in other situations, a good thing to do is to turn the stars off on the starry canopy, because if you're drifting in a circle, right, like if you don't stabilize yourself and you're kind of drifting in a circle, as your eyes are tracking the movement of those stars, you can get really nauseous. So it'll definitely help reduce the chance of nausea if you do that. But we've had people come out and be like super nauseous before, and I think we have like ginger tea. So sometimes we'll let them sit down and, you know, don't charge it if they're like crazy nauseous. Like if they look like they're going to vomit on you, you know. You can sit them down, give them some water, some tea. Peppermint tea is good for nausea as well. We have peppermint tea. So you can like hydrate them and make sure that they don't just like walk out of here super sick. You want them to kind of calm down and feel a little bit better. One time, a lady had a float massage combo, and she came out of her float and said she was super nauseous, and she puked in our bathroom like 4 times, but then she still wanted her massage. But then during the massage, she got violently ill, and I had to call 911 because I think she had some bad mushrooms. So...
Like,
do you remember that?
Food or mushrooms?
No, like mushrooms, like the hallucinogenic.
Oh wow.
Yeah, because
I don't remember this.
So every time there's an emergency, ESSA's not working.
Yeah.
And one time I called ESSA, and you didn't answer, and you were like taking Coco to the orthodontist or something. Like you were at a doctor's appointment for one of the therapists or one of their kids or something. And you're like, you texted me on WeChat, you're like, I'm at the doctor. I was like, well, I'm calling 911, like, you know, at work right now. Like, I'm literally calling the paramedics. And I think Faye was doing that massage. So Faye had started the massage, and the lady's just like...
But that's, I remember the lady that fell and hit her head.
That was the lymphatic. Okay, this was not a lymphatic. This is a float massage combo. And she, like, because I wasn't working for the lymphatic either, but I spent 3 hours on the phone that day, remember? Like, talking to her friend or whatever. But no, so this lady was having her massage, And she's like, I need a ride. I need to go to the hospital, right? And I was like, well, do you have someone you want to call? Because this is the other red flag. She didn't drive herself. Someone else drove her because she was high, right? And so she had a bad trip. She got really ill. And then she was, like, sweating. She was hot. She was cold. Like, she wasn't well. And she was like, let me call my ride to pick me up, but the ride's name in her phone was just like a bunch of emojis. I was like, this is her drug dealer. Like, she's calling her drug dealer to pick her up and take her to the emergency room or whatever. Yeah. But like, he wasn't answering the phone, or it was this or that or whatever. And I was like, listen, lady, like, do you want me to call 911? Like, I will get you an ambulance if you need one. Like, if you just want to like rest in this room, like, I can close the room out. Like, you can stay in here if that's what you want, but I'm gonna call the paramedics. Right? So I had to call the paramedics, and then they were like, and don't give people any water, by the way. Like, don't give them anything. If they're puking and sick and you have to call 911, give them no food or water. You're really not supposed to do that. The paramedics will tell you what to do. When you call 911, they'll walk you through what you should or should not do for the people. But yeah, so then the guy came through and put her on the, like, what's it called? Gurney, yeah, that's the word. And like wheeled her out, and then the police asked us all these questions and stuff. I was like, oh, what a delightful Friday.
Was she resistant?
And then I was like, Heather, you don't pay me enough money. No, she wasn't. She was fine. Like, she was like, I need to go to the hospital. Yeah. She was immediately, I need to go to the hospital. She was like puking in my bathroom for like 5 minutes or so, and I was like, are you sure you still want this massage? She's like, I really want this massage. She was like, what the lady? She's like, I just want to lay down, you know. And then when she laid down in there, she's like, okay, I'm ready for the massage. But she was like, not ready for the massage. I can't imagine anything worse than having a violent reaction to drugs and then have someone touch your body. Like, that sounds horrible to me. But anyway.
I can't believe she's honest when she drinks.
No, she did not tell me she was on any drugs at all. I'm saying the paramedics told me. She definitely was.
Okay, I thought she was, and I was like,
No.
wow.
No, I'm saying his name in her, like, phone book was, like, a bunch of emojis with like, a weed and a mushroom and, like a weird face. And I was like, this is clearly not your boyfriend. This is your dealer. But anyway, if people get nauseous, usually it's not that situation.
Yeah. Well, when I'm working the morning shift, and because I don't eat breakfast, I'll ask clients who have like an 8:30 float, you know, if they've had breakfast. And sometimes I'm like, no, I don't like to eat breakfast. And I was like, oh, well, you should have like a granola bar, and I'll have them like sit in the lounge and eat a granola bar before they float, because otherwise they will get nauseous if they haven't had breakfast when they float.
Yeah. Not like 100% of the time, but it increases the likelihood.
Yeah.
So you can say, like, you don't have to force feed yourself, but like, it'll sit better on your stomach if you have something in it before floating. Something like that.
I'm sorry. Are customers allowed to take anything from the lounge into their float rooms, like granola bars, tea, drinks, or do they not? You not want food?
So we have historically allowed them to take things in, and we've had a lot of discussions about this. Remember when Jeff would take the glass bowls of nuts in there? And I was like, you can't have glass in the float room, Jeff. You know what I mean? And then he made us get like the tiny trash bags and fill the trash bags with the nuts so he could eat the nuts while he was in there. But it's like, but then I was like, well, some people have nut allergies, so I don't know if we want to have a bunch of nuts like in the float room. Well, you know, and so the short answer is yes, we do allow people to take things in there, but don't let people take like glass in, I guess. Okay. We only have disposable things right now, but we are planning on transitioning back to having glasses, right?
Yeah.
So not the water bottles, but to have glasses of water. And if they want to have water, we have the paper to-go cups for the tea that they can take.
Okay.
Right?
Yeah. Because some people do get thirsty when they float.
Yes, for sure. And so, like, giving them the bottles of water is, like, totally fine to take in there. But as for the nuts, well, we're not doing the loose nuts anymore at all. But for the granola bars, some of them do have nuts. I don't know. What do you think about that?
I don't think granola bar. I haven't had a whole lot of people take their granola bar into the float.
Yeah, it's pretty rare.
Usually if they eat it, they'll eat it out here. Because we're not in a huge room, because we block off the room for 75 minutes. It's not like massage where we have to like hurry them in and out. You know, like for float, like they can take like a few minutes to eat the granola bar if they want.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I usually,
tell them that we have plenty of time before your float if you just want to go ahead and finish it now.
because people will try to like scarf two of them down like on the way in the room,
Yeah.
and it is better for them to just relax and finish it there and not like be trying to eat as they're walking and getting crumbs everywhere and stuff.
Yeah. And then when I book the float over the phone, I try to tell them to make sure that they eat a light meal. Like that's one of the things I tell them not to shave their legs the day of their float and to eat a light meal before their float. That just prevents the whole nausea thing. Because that's one of the biggest complaints that we get is people getting nauseous during their float.
Mm-hmm.
So, and that's another thing that people say about my legs burn during the float. You know, like sometimes if they forgot, you know, and they shaved their legs before they got their float, that can happen.
Or if they wax as well. If
Oh
they
yeah,
wax.
Oh yeah, that's a good point.
And their genitals. Oh, and here's another thing. Okay, people love booking floats for birthdays. Okay? If I'm booking a couple's float or a couple's float and massage on the phone, again, this is one of the ounce of prevention is worth a pound of cure things, right? When you're booking someone in for a float, regardless of what it is, if it's a couple's float or if it's a float that they're booking for someone else, specifically if it's a woman, right? I'll say, oh, like, you know, how did they find out about this, or are you celebrating something, or whatever, right? So ask them kind of about it, or oftentimes they will just say it's for a birthday, right? Or they'll say, do you have any birthday specials, or things like that, right? And so if it's for a birthday, or an anniversary, or something special, always, 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 always tell them, especially men, that they are going to shower twice, okay? And so make sure that if they're trying to book for their lady for her birthday, that they're not like having her go get her hair and nails done and do her makeup and have her lashes put on, and then she comes in and has to shower fucking twice for a float, okay? Because she does not want to do that, and she's going to be pissed. We have people pissed all the time because he's like, surprise, I've got you in for a float, and she just spent $200 on her nails. No. Well, yeah, sometimes $200 on her nails, $200 on her hair. She put her lashes on. She did her makeup. She's pissed off because now she has to get in the tank. And she does not want to do that. And so I tell them, I'm like, probably book it for like the beginning of the day or something, you know. If you do have a whole day of birthday celebration stuff going on, like the float's like a great thing to do at the start of the day, like before you do your nails or your hair or anything like that. And then also if it's for an anniversary or something, I don't know, a lot of ladies coming in for these anniversary things. Hi, how do you feel?
Oh, spectacular.
Awesome. The vanity's right on the other side of this wall if you want any Q-tips, lotion, anything.
Oh, I do.
Yeah. When you tell people the vanity's on the other side of the wall, a lot of people are like, I'm fine, I'll do it at home. But I always say that there's Q-tips over there. And then people go in and they're like, oh, there's also all this other stuff. And then they're very happy with what we have in our vanity. So always recommend they go in there for Q-tips. Did you see how I asked her how she felt, Essa?
Yeah.
Are you learning?
I was going to have Alexis watch the video and make a training document, and then I was going to reread the training document. I was telling Alexis, I was like, because when I had you come work, I was like, I didn't know if you'd be lazy or good. And like the second week you got here, I was like, oh, she's better than me. I sure won the lottery. Because like, I mean, when we were younger, like, I mean, I didn't know if you were a hard worker because like I was like just busy looking up your secret.
It's true. When we were 22.
I would find reasons to hug Laura.
So she's very enamored with me.
I'm not feeling good right now. I need a hug.
You're like, oh, my son. It's like pat her head. So the point is, don't trust your friends. Okay? They're all sneaky. But no, we were teaching English at different schools, so we didn't work together. Like, we both were on the same program, but we didn't work together. So Essa thought that I was probably, like, secretly lazy.
Well, I'm not lazy. I just didn't know if you were like...
She was like, white people don't like working hard.
And then another one is, I wasn't sure